These were the only pictures made in the city during the siege. Barricades were being thrown up throughout the town. Everyone had to help. The newspapers and radio were giving reports of army victories to keep up civilian morale. Of the progress of the war outside the city, we received only false reports. But suddenly we knew the truth. On the 10th day, soldiers started flooding back, retreating. Warsaw was almost surrounded. The bridges over the Vistula were the main military objectives of the air raiders. Planes dived low over the city as they attacked. Polish anti-aircraft batteries actually made many direct hits. About 50 German planes, all told, were brought down while I was in Warsaw. 7 women had been machine gunned from the air while digging potatoes. Beside one mother's body, a stunned child waited for what might happen next. They knew that if they dug, they might be machine gunned, but if they didn't, that they would surely starve. And huge craters were blasted in the streets, sometimes almost at my feet. They huddled together, perhaps drawing some courage from contact with their fellow sufferers. It was pitiful, for in groups like this, a bomb could rub out scores of lives. Between 300 and 400 enemy planes a day were overhead. By the 12th day, it was absurd even to sound alarms, for there was always an air raid. Stores had kept open so long as there was anything to sell. Then the city established bread lines, where more than half the population lined up for their daily rations. People were constantly moving, sometimes saving the least useful but most prized possessions from the debris of their homes. Demoralized, they shifted about the city, seeking safety. They were lucky who owned a horse and wagon, because the entire family, even to the house pets, could be moved together with enough necessities. By this time, the German Air Force, which had outnumbered the Polish planes by 20 to 1, had left not a defending ship in the sky. A new type bomb appeared, a 500-pounder. It was almost impossible to put the fire out, for water mains had been blown up. At night I roamed through the city, photographing blocks of closely packed apartments, which were in flame. Blackouts were completely ineffectual, and the fires lighted up the city for miles around, by 25 or more misses. I made these scenes on a Sunday afternoon. The church had been struck during Mass that morning. This hospital was hit 5 times the day before I photographed it. Wounded civilian victims of earlier air raids in the city had occupied these beds when this raid came. It was like a grim avenger, relentlessly determined that they should not escape. In the operating room, the largest maternity hospital, holding their newborn infants on their laps, 4 days old, and already a casualty of war. Here were youngsters with life just starting, being hidden away from death. One woman explained that the planes flew low just above the treetops, spraying the fleeing women with machine gun bullets. Still another told of 9 who were killed by shell fire. When they learned that I was an American photographer, somehow they seemed to believe that I'd come all the way from the United States to help them. But I could do no more than capture the record, written in their faces, dazed, angry, magnificent. Many of the middle-aged were sullen and angry. Youngsters were half resentful, half resigned, while their elders turned to prayer. These are the faces of a nation besieged. These helpless civilians were the real victims and the unhappy heroes of the war of siege. May God have mercy on them.